The following is a hockey podcast out of Vancouver and Surrey, British Columbia. It'll only consist of a lot of puck talk and even more BS, or in actual words, banter and satire. Enjoy, and as always, go Canucks go.
Okay, the sun is shining, the Canucks are winning games, and the Pacific Division stinks. Life is good. You know why else life is good? Because you're with us listening to Locked On Canucks.
You're Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, welcome to another episode of Locked On Canucks. My name is Trevor Beggs, your co-host here on Locked On Canucks, and also a part-time credentialed media member for Daily Hive Vancouver. Before we dive into today's episode of Locked On Canucks, we got to thank you for tuning into Locked On Canucks. It's your team, no scratch that, your Canucks every day. Go make sure you subscribe or follow for free on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. And before we get into the episode, I got to let you know today's episode is brought to you by Sleeper. Download the Sleeper app and use promo code LOCKEDONNHL to get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. On today's episode of Locked On Canucks, we're going to take a look at the Pacific Division. One of the coldest takes I had over the summer was that this might be the best division in hockey. Well, guess what? So far, it is the worst division in hockey.
Whoa.
And that's a good thing for your Vancouver Canucks. Also going to preview the games coming up this weekend against the Blues and the Rangers. But before we do that, I got to introduce my co-host, someone who's, I hope, having a good day because it's Friday. Like I said, life is good. Kyle Bowen, how you doing, brother?
It's Friday, the big Halloween party tomorrow. I'm excited to get drunk, man. I'm excited to use a party as a form of therapy. I'm excited to use the party as a form of realizing that, dude, we're here for a short time and a long time, but again, a short time. I can't wait to just chill with the brothers, the girl, and have a good time. And I can't wait to have this conversation because we're a couple weeks into the season, and I didn't know this was going to happen. I didn't know the Pacific Division was going to be one of the worst divisions in hockey, and if it was going to be one of the worst divisions in hockey, I'd probably assume that the Canucks would be somewhere near the bottom because, hey, we're the Vancouver Canucks, and until we see it, I got to believe that we haven't learned our lessons. That being said, we're going to see this weekend if the Canucks have really put this all together. I know they did well on the road trip, and they played really well towards the end of that road trip, but to carry it over, especially at the start of a homestand, is honestly a very difficult thing to do. This all being said, such an important thing to do because this team should capitalize on the fact that teams in their division are having a slow start. Calgary, Edmonton, to name a few, again, playing bad off the start and picking up 3 points, maybe 4 points, and continuing this hot run is something I would dance about for real. Like, if tomorrow night hits and the Canucks have won 4 straight games or whatever the number would be, I would be telling everyone at the party that, this is the year. This is the year that we're going to be watching games in May. All that being said, Beggsy, what did the Canucks have to do this weekend to, again, capitalize on this weak division?
Yeah, so in terms of this weekend, I think we'll get to that in segment 2 a little bit,
okay.
Because I do want to talk about how bad the division's been. It's a surprise, and it's one of the rare times that the Canucks have been lucky. I've written about this before, but the Canucks, in my opinion, are the most cursed franchise in NHL history. So much has gone wrong for this franchise. And we're early in the season, but, coming into the season, the Seattle Kraken, again, we're coming off of almost making the conference finals. The Edmonton Oilers were one of the Stanley Cup favorites. Actually, if you looked at most betting platforms, it was Carolina and Edmonton were the 2 top Stanley Cup favorites coming into the season. And then Calgary, again, one of those teams where, they had a bad season last year, but they're one of those teams where when they're bad, when you think they're going to be bad, they're going to be good. And I think people thought they were going to be bad coming into the season. And so obviously that meant they were going to be good. Well, guess what? The Flames stink as well. And LA as well. I mean, LA, they're 3-2-1. They've done some good things early on, but the goaltending with Cam Talbot and Phoenix Copley, like I have major question marks about that moving forward. And I hopped on a Kings podcast.
That's trash, man.
It's got to be one of the worst goaltending times in the league. And so far, I mean, they've managed to, kind of win in spite of it. Cam Talbot has a below league average save percentage, a 90% save percentage. Phoenix Copley at 82% save percentage in his 2 starts. But the Kings have managed to get 3 or 4 points in his starts. So it's a pretty garbage goaltending tandem there. And, after that, it's like, so again, you have Vegas with like 7 straight wins. Vegas just looks phenomenal. The Canucks at 4-2. And then after that, there were question marks about every single team in the Pacific Division.
Wow.
So again, the Canucks starting strong was super important.
Yeah.
That was within their control. What wasn't within their control is how the teams performed around them. And man, oh man, it's been a lot left to be desired. I don't think any of these, maybe the Anaheim Ducks starting 3-4, but none of the other teams in the Pacific Division can be happy about the way they started the season.
Yeah, and it makes this matchup against St. Louis tonight even more important. Picking up wins against St. Louis and possibly Nashville on Tuesday, and let's see what happens. Let's see what happens against the Rangers tomorrow. But I think you nailed it on the head when you said, yeah, internally the start really mattered for this team, and now we're kind of surprised at this being the moment where you have to pick up these points, because it's not always going to be like this, right? It's impossible. McDavid and Draisaitl, they're going to figure it out. We just talked a little bit of ish about the LA Kings, though. We have one more point than the LA Kings. So just make it count now and carry on the momentum. It's going to be tough, man. It's going to be tough, and I just keep thinking about the fact again. It could happen. It could happen. The Canucks would win tonight versus St. Louis, then tomorrow against New York, and I'm going to be drunk. I'm sorry. I'm going off the rim, but I could be super happy tomorrow, Trevor. Like, super happy. Super Vancouver happy, and I haven't been super Vancouver happy in a very long time. I'm stoked. Do you think, with all that being said, do you think it's going to last? Like, do you think the Oilers are going to suck for this long? I don't think so, man.
No, I really don't think they're going to suck for this long, unfortunately, but it comes back to goaltending for me. If you look at the fantasy stats, actually all of Edmonton, Calgary, and Seattle have been at least creating some offense. Maybe not like, dangerous scoring chances, but they're at least getting the puck on net. But you watch these games and, yeah, I don't know. With Edmonton, for sure, it's been a little bit different with McDavid being hurt. But, with Edmonton, it just feels like, past years where, not so much last season, but past years where it was just McDavid, Draisaitl, and nobody else. I know last season, with like Hyman and Nugent Hopkins, Kane, like they actually had some offensive punch aside from those top 2 stars, and the defense looked better too. But they changed their defensive structure, their strategy in the offseason, and they just don't look like the same team defensively.
Yeah.
So they're a high event team creating chances, but giving up a lot of chances, and their goaltending has been absolutely horrid.
Well, they're a high event team. They're a high event team that also doesn't have they don't have a cornerstone defenseman. Say what you want about Evan Bouchard and say what you want about Darnell Nurse. Just by watching them play, all I see is like a number 3 guy, a top 4 defenseman. They don't have that pillar back there, and that's one thing the Canucks do have. Yeah. Speaking of pillars, you talked about those other teams in the Pacific Division. It's pretty clear, early on, and maybe we'll see more of it this weekend. I hope so, that the Canucks, by far and away, have one of the most dynamic duos in net in this division, if not the most dynamic duo. And one of the best duos in hockey is, again, baby, move, dance, baby, dance. Demko's back. That was the X factor. I thought it was going to take him a couple of games, an easier pathway for him to find momentum, for him to find himself again, not just become a good goaltender again, but become Thatcher Demko again. And he's that guy, and behind him is a dude who, he wants to prove himself. He wants to do it again. He wants to earn a contract. And he happens to be a good goaltender too, technically sound, played a lot of games in his life. The Canucks have the advantage in net, and it's going to pay dividends, especially early on, because, again, they don't need to find momentum. They already have it.
Yeah, and again, goaltending is huge. Again, looking across the Pacific Division, it's, in Vegas, that tandem of Aiden Hill, Logan Thompson's been really good, but throughout the rest of the division, no team's goaltending scares me. The only other team's goalie who's been really good has been John Gibson so far in Anaheim. But again, even with John Gibson playing out of his mind, the team's 3-4. So, it's, again, the Anaheim Ducks aren't really a threat this season. But, across the rest of the division, I kind of said it before with Seattle. I kind of thought Seattle got, lucky last year in terms of, their shooting percentage and just how much offense they created. They won in spite of bad goaltending. And this year, now they can't score, and they're still letting in quite a few goals. So, letting in almost 4 goals a game so far. And then, with Calgary and Edmonton, they just, they both lack bite. Calgary and Edmonton, a couple of years ago, they played in the playoffs.
We lack a lot of bite too, man.
Yeah.
We do.
Yeah.
We don't have the edge there. Sorry to cut you off. I'm just thinking about it, right? Thinking about all these good things that are happening, even though the Canucks have played 6 games this season, and I would say they played 8 or 9 really bad periods. Do the math. That's a lot of periods in 6 games to like just take off. The Canucks are still very much the Canucks. They got to prove a lot of not the doubters, but they got to prove that they are evolving into a more structured team and able to, stop the bleeding when it does happen. It's only been 6 games. They've partially done it over the last 2 games. Let's hope they do it over this weekend. This all being said, their best players are being their best players. Like, they're playing at the top of their positions. And we talked about Demko and DeSmith. Dude, a lot of teams don't have 2 centers going like JT Miller and Elias Pettersson. And surprise, surprise, JT Miller is a highly effective 2-way center right now. Does he have to get a little smarter? Sure, but I feel as if his intensity and his will to just make sure everything's going right is at an all-time high, and I didn't see that happening for the Vancouver Canucks this season. If you and I were going to talk, we're talking about Pettersson and Miller playing this good early on in the season, we're only going to be talking about the points, but it's a bonus that, Miller's doing the most to, again, make sure this team wins, a team that doesn't have a good, solid decor. A guy like JT Miller has to make up for that when he's in the defensive zone, and it's a blessing to see. All the things at the top are going right for this team early on, and that's a very, very promising sign.
Yeah, and maybe I'll throw this overly optimistic question out to our listeners before we move on to the weekend preview here in segment 2. The Canucks right now, second in the division. I think, Kyle, you and I said this. Pretty much every pundit said this. Actually, most pundits picked the Canucks to miss the playoffs. Will the Canucks relinquish a top 3 spot in the division at some point this season? That's the optimistic Friday question that we're asking you, the listener. Again, make sure you connect with us on YouTube, Spotify, Twitter, wherever you listen to the podcast or wherever you
Twitter, man.
You like talking hockey.
I know you hate your ex too. You and I are in the same boat, man. We hate our exes, but we got to start calling it X, man. We got to start calling it X. It is what it is, man.
Yeah, my ex. That's been a long time. I've been with my wife for 10 years now.
Will I ever forgive my ex? I don't know, man.
More on that.
She left me for a girl,
at some point down the road.
It's like, anyways, man.
Yeah, no, we both have that in common. No, it's all good. It's all good.
Bruh, that's nuts, man.
Anyways, on the other side here, the weekend preview. Speaking of people we hate, Jordan Binnington is going to be in net against the Vancouver Canucks tonight. So a little bit of Binnington hate and weekend preview stuff. On the other side, before I get to that, I got to let you know, as a business owner, you realize that there are times when receivables might fall behind. But that doesn't mean you need to fall behind on vendor payments, payroll, or rent. For more than 25 years, Parkview Advance has helped businesses secure working capital from $5,000 to $1.5 million. Parkview Advance can approve your working capital in as little as 24 hours. It's a much easier process than you might imagine. We invite the many entrepreneurs that are logged on NHL fans to learn more by calling us at 203-675-0071 or go to parkviewadvance.com. If your business needs working capital, call Parkview Advance today. Parkview Advance, helping businesses with the working capital. Go to parkviewadvance.com. Before we get to the next segment, I got to let you know that health is wealth, okay? You got to take care of yourself. And when I'm out there camping with my family in the great outdoors, I like to have the Jace case on hand because the Jace case gives me peace of mind in an emergency situation. The Jace case is a personalized emergency medication kit that contains 5 essential antibiotics that treat the most common and deadly bacterial infections. You can also customize your case and add additional life-saving medications based on your unique needs. The Jace case now offers customizability with dozens of add-on medications. You can choose the medications that best fit you and your family's unique needs. Another reason to purchase the Jace case, you can buy a gift card for family or your loved ones so that they can get a Jace case of their own. Not only is health is wealth, but now you can go with sharing is caring, baby. I love those cheesy cliches. Let's go. Make sure you go to jacemedical.com or enter code LOCKEDON at checkout for a $20 discount on your order. That's promo code LOCKEDON at jasemedical.com.
Okay. You're back on another episode of Locked On Canucks. My name's Kyle Bowen. That's Trevor Begg. Subscribe, hit the like button if you did enjoy today's episode. If you didn't, don't do that. I know we're all Canucks, but don't like it if you didn't like it. Don't lie to yourself. Stop doing that. Let's save the world one less lie at a time. And more importantly, this is the show where we give you your Canucks every day. And some ex talk, man. Hey, man, I said it before the break. I hate my ex. That being said, I'm grateful that she left me for a girl, because if that wasn't the case, maybe I'd still be with her and I wouldn't be with the love of my life, you know? So I'm grateful for whatever's happened in my life, because it's led me here, not just on Locked On Canucks, but in a beautiful, healthy, happy relationship with the girl of my dreams. I hope you're listening to this, baby. Anyways, Locked On Canucks, the weekend preview, Friday, Saturday, right? Not only am I going to be seeing my girl on these parties this weekend, Halloween weekend, I'm going to be seeing a lot of Canuck action, and I'm addicted to the Canucks. I can't wait to squeeze this in and enjoy the games, and I am highly optimistic that the Canucks are going to pick up 3 out of 4 points at least. Look at me, man. I'm talking with swagger, baby. What do you think?
Yeah, so I really do think, obviously, the tough game of this homestand is the Rangers game on Saturday night. So the Canucks, again, it'll be their second night of back-to-backs, playing in a team in the Rangers who's 5-2, off to a pretty good start this season. Shesterkin's doing his thing. The offense is clicking. Mika Zibanejad has not picked up a goal yet. Got to watch out for him. I feel like he's scored a few bingos against the Canucks in the past. So Friday, I say, is the more winnable game against the St. Louis Blues, who have had not a bad start to this season. They're 3-2-1. They've been a boring low event team so far, though. I mean, Jordan Bennington has stood on his head. Joel Hofer, their backup, led in 6 goals in his first start, but then shut out the Calgary Flames last night. So yeah, good job, Calgary, losing to a guy who's getting shut out by a guy who's barely played in the NHL so far this season. But the St. Louis Blues also have had a lot of trouble scoring goals. This team has 14 goals in 6 games so far. So I do think the Canucks have the talent and the star power to kind of break through the St. Louis Blues. This is not, despite the fact that they've only allowed 15 goals this season, this isn't a defensive juggernaut.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this defense is a massive problem.
Yeah.
They got a lot of guys who are overpaid, aging, from Torrey Krug, Justin Fall, Colton Parayko. It's definitely not the cleanest defense out there. So St. Louis can be taken advantage of. And again, they just played on Thursday night. So again, you're getting a team on the second night of back-to-backs who's now to travel into Vancouver. They did us a solid by getting the W over the Calgary Flames. But I think they might be the team. They might be a little bit tired tonight, man.
They might be a little tired, but they're still an NHL team, and we're still the Vancouver Canucks. A lot to prove. This all being said, just based on what Rick Tocchet said after practice, I feel as if the team's kind of feeling themselves, but more importantly, they're still humble to the process and making sure they're taking care of the little things, and that was noted by Tocchet, based, again, what he said about the effort level at practice, I think, yesterday. So I hope the mind is in the right direction, because this is a really important time to pick up points, especially against a team that's not really fighting for anything this season, and they show up on the first game after coming off the road. And again, just stay humble, stay learning. You're still the Vancouver Canucks, a lot to prove, and you haven't really proved anything through 6 games in the season if you really think about it. This all being said, I think we're going to win tomorrow against the Rangers, because I feel as if the boys, right, the sun was shining over the last 1.5 days, the last 2 days. Vancouver, one of the prettiest places in the world. Yo, these boys went out, bro. I know they went out. They probably been here for like 48 hours prior to the game. Dude, they're going to 12, not 12 West. They're going to Pierre's, They're going to Parlor. They're just doing their thing, enjoying themselves, and maybe, I don't know, participating in hanging out with the bud, if you know what I mean, right? They got buddies down here, a lot of buds down here, and maybe they're a bit slower tomorrow. Maybe they on that indica, you know what I'm saying? And I think we're gonna pick up a dub tomorrow, for real. Yo, if I'm a smart man, and if I was at a different position in my life, bro, if I had some clout, I would definitely invite the New York Rangers to a Halloween party tonight and get them bottles, because I care about my team, the Vancouver Canucks. I'm doing whatever it takes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you're. That's why you're a team player, Cal.
Exactly.
Canucks first, and listener first too. Your Canucks, Locked On Canucks, your team every.
But look at the matchup tomorrow. The matchup tomorrow is going to be sick. I cut you off again. Sorry, there was a bit of a lag there. Yeah. But Demko versus Shesterkin, that's exciting. Panarin versus Pedersen, that's exciting. Like Adam Fox versus Quinn Hughes, that's crazy.
Yeah. The Rangers, there's a lot of intrigue in that matchup, but I will say I wouldn't be surprised if it's Casey DeSmith who gets the call on Saturday night. It looks like
Whoa.
Thatcher Demko is confirmed to start tonight against the St. Louis
Wow.
Blues.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, no, interesting things.
Okay, break it
That's
down
the
for
news
me.
coming out of practice today.
Break it down
So,
for
I mean,
me.
Jordan Binnington, I will say, as much as this guy is an absolute dick, he started the season pretty strong. He's got a .945 save percentage. He's only let in 7 goals in 4 starts, but Binnington historically has not played well against the Canucks. Honestly, I could see this being a game where there's a few goals either way. Maybe the Blues pop a couple bingos. The Canucks get a couple bingos on Jordan Binnington, who, it's I don't think he's like all of a sudden turned into Patrick Waugh here.
What's
and
your...
he's got some bad.
No,
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. You go ahead.
I was going to say, I mean, Jordan Binnington, obviously in the regular season, he's played already against the Canucks. He's actually hasn't lost in regulation to the Canucks.
What?
He's 4-0-2 against the Canucks.
What?
In the regular season, but in the playoffs, we know what's happened there. I mean, Binnington got lit up by the Canucks in that 2020 bubble playoffs there.
Holy.
But so for me, I definitely see the Blues game as the more winnable game. But I just don't want to see a letdown game like we did in Philly, right? The Canucks, after 2 wins against Edmonton, looked like they were kind of like too happy with themselves a bit. And after a 4-2 road trip, you could feel kind of similarly that, the Canucks again, second in the Pacific Division, teams aren't doing well around them. Everything's starting off well. Don't get complacent against the St. Louis Blues. Win this game. It's a winnable game. If the Canucks are proving that they're a playoff team this season, they're going to make some noise. They got to win games like this. I do think the Rangers game is going to be a much stiffer test.
Okay, break it down for me, okay? So if Demko gets the start today, why do you think they went with that? Is that to give them their best shot at preventing themselves from playing a stinker? Again, first game after a road trip, blah, blah, blah. Or is it because Demko has plans tonight and they don't want to hungover Demko on Saturday? Or, speaking of Saturday, Casey DeSmith, he just that guy on a Saturday. What do you think? What do you think it is?
I feel like there's trust in Casey DeSmith against any team, right? I mean, this guy went in and played against the Edmonton Oilers and got the Canucks the victory and looked really good doing so. The guy has a .938 save percentage so far. Played against a Florida team that's in the Stanley Cup Finals last year.
Yeah.
So I feel like Talk's just got trust in both goalies. I don't think he's trying to match it up real hard. And if you want to look at it from the must-win perspective, I mean, this Blues game is the winnable game, right? You get your best guy in, get the win against the Blues and against the Rangers. It's kind of like, let's see what happens, right?
Interesting. I'm really fascinated in that because I was just looking forward to Saturday being that marquee game and having those matchups like Pettersson, Panarin, or Zibanejad, etc. Blah blah blah. But primarily speaking, like Adam Fox versus Quinn Hughes, that is nuts. And then Shesterkin versus Demko, I feel as if Demko could have had the spotlight or the chance to grab some of it from Shesterkin on a Saturday night and really put himself back on the top tier map. But at the end of the day, those narratives don't really matter. They don't matter at all.
Yeah, they don't matter at all. But I'm going to tell you about one guy who matters to me in the final segment here in Begsy's Ballad. Before I do that, I got to let you know, a new NHL season brings all sorts of possibilities. Kyle Bowen could score 50 goals in ball hockey.
Okay.
The Canucks could hoist the Stanley Cup. And you could win big by playing daily fantasy hockey on Sleeper, the official daily fantasy app of the Locked On NHL Network. Sleeper is our #1 choice for daily fantasy sports and especially daily fantasy hockey. Because with Sleeper, you could win 100 times your cash in daily fantasy hockey contests. Going into this weekend, I think I like Elias Pettersson a lot in terms of scoring against the St. Louis Blues on Friday night. Again, Jordan Binnington, I know he's 4-0-2 against the Canucks. This guy cannot stay unbeaten in regulation against the Canucks. Get out of here, Jordan Binnington. I see Elias Pettersson getting a couple bingos tonight. At least one bingo, a couple points tonight on Jordan Binnington and the St. Louis Blues. But no matter what bet you want to place, all you got to do on Sleeper is pick a couple studs and say whether they will record more or less than their Sleeper projections for things like goals, assists, saves, plus, minus, and more. To win a 100 times bet on Sleeper, you need to correctly predict the amount of the outcome of 8 player stats. You heard me, Canucks fans. You can win 100 times your money playing daily fantasy hockey with Sleeper. So start paying attention and nail your picks so you can start winning big. Use promo code LOCKEDONNHL and you'll get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. That's code LOCKEDONNHL. See Sleeper's terms of use for details and locational availability.
People, before we get back to the show, baby, I gotta tell you that new episodes of Locked On Canucks will be available wherever you stream podcasts and on YouTube at 4:20 p.m. for no reason at all, okay? New episodes every day at 4:20 p.m. Again, wherever you stream podcasts and on YouTube. Let's get back to the show. Okay, you're back on another episode of Locked On Canucks. My name's Kyle Bowen, that is Trevor Beggs. But again, more importantly, this is the show where we give you your Canucks, not your team, your Canucks every day, no matter what. You know, people having children on this program, it don't matter. People getting into personal issues on this program, it don't matter. We're giving you your Canucks every day because at the end of the day, we all relate to this. Our first love in life, there's a good chance that our first love was this team, the Vancouver Canucks. So we got to do what we got to do. That being said, I do love Trevor Beggs as a homie, and every day you got to ask your homies this question because it matters. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, brother. Going to the Raj for the first 2 nights of the season this weekend. Sun is shining. And who knows, maybe I'll even run into you in Vancouver one of these nights in person.
I think we're running into each other twice this weekend, man. I feel it in my bones, bro. I feel it in my bones that Trevor's going to pick his friend over his family this weekend. Let us know in the comments below if Trevor should do that this weekend and have his wife work overtime and then just bring her home flowers, man. Flowers fix everything.
I got her flowers on Monday, so it's set the bar there.
Beggsy, baby. Romantic, man. I wouldn't be in a relationship if it wasn't for Beggsy. Just saying. This guy taught me everything I knew, and you're a beautiful person, man. I'm proud of you, man. Anyways, let's get to this little ramble that you want to go on what we call Beggsy's Ballad.
There have been a lot of good stories on the Vancouver Canucks this season, and I got to end this Friday episode on a positive note. You know, Quentin Hughes is doing his thing. Thatcher Demko's on fire. JT Miller's looking like a stud. Brock Besser's scoring goals. But the one guy who stood out to me the most, and this is an emotional response to my heart, it's Phil DiGiuseppe, baby. You know, Phil DiGiuseppe is the most surprising top-line player in the NHL, okay? This guy is making a league minimum, but he's playing over 16 minutes a night at even strength. He is one of the most used forwards in the NHL. I'll throw this stat at you, okay? There have been over 420 forwards who have played NHL games so far this season, and DiGiuseppe's average even strength ice time of 14 minutes per game ranks 39th in the league. 39th among 400 plus guys. This guy's one of the lowest paid players in the NHL. And you know what? He's earned this opportunity, okay? I was a skeptic at first, okay? Why is this guy, who's in the AHL for nearly a year and a half without playing an NHL game, why is he in the top 6? But he has earned this role. He was rewarded with his first goal this season against the Nashville Predators to end that road trip. And everything Philly Giuseppe's bringing to the table right now is pretty damn awesome. He's banging the body. He's getting the puck to his teammates. Had a great setup for Andrei Kuzmenko's game-winning goal against the Florida Panthers. Phil Giuseppe is the most lovable Canuck this season, and he's my guy right now. My guy. I'm saying it right now. He's my guy.
Holy, your friend, bro. And, we got to look out for guys like this because Phil DiGiuseppe, he reminds me of myself and Trevor Beggs, to be honest. Can't give up. Got to keep it going. Got to keep it pushing your way. And DiGiuseppe's way is by being relentless and showing that he doesn't lack effort at any point during the hockey game. Again, that play against Florida, I feel as if that was at the end of his shift and he made something happen to Kuzmenko. This all being said, he has to continue to do that, and that's make things happen offensively for him to stay in the top 6. And I'm confident that he's going to be able to put up 40-plus points this season because I want this guy to succeed. I like what he brings to the top 6, and if that's the case, can you confirm this? Because I think you mentioned it on a previous episode. I just want to know if I was dreaming or not. But does he have a contract for next season?
Yeah, he's signed for the next 2 seasons.
So this season,
signed him in the offseason.
There you go, man. So Canucks, your Canucks, they need a guy like this next season, making that much to, again, provide impact. And I know I'm thinking ahead of things, but sometimes you got to think about the future when we're talking about this team, especially when we talk about this team, winning a Stanley Cup. I'm not saying they're winning a Stanley Cup next season, but they continually need to make bets on players and have players play way over the value based on the number they're getting paid. And DiGiuseppe this season and next season is going to do that. I'm guaranteeing that. I'm guaranteeing that. Do you see that, though? 40-plus points for this guy? It has to happen, right? If he's playing top 6 minutes the whole time with Miller and Besser, and if we want Miller to pick up like 90-plus points and Besser to get back to like 60, well, he's always around that range, but you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I still think it's, I think we said this a couple weeks back. I think I said around 14 goals and 36 points for Phil DiGiuseppe, which would be a fantastic season. Again, a guy smashing way above his weight class. We just have to be in on every goal, you know? And, you know, even when Miller put up, 99 points in 2021-22, only 47 of those came at even strength, right?
Yeah.
So as long as these guys are winning their matchups, outscoring the competition, limiting chances, I think that's what matters most. I don't think Phil DiGiuseppe has to be a half-point-a-game guy, but I do think playing with those guys, if he sticks in that role, he can get there.
He can get there, go to the net and banging some rebounds, bro. Banging some rebounds and bang the body, bro. Dude, man, banging those rebounds,
Delicious.
bro. That could be a porno name right there. Rebound banger.
Oh, it's already a porno.
Probably. Okay, that was another episode of Locked On Canucks. Halloween next week. We'll get into some spooky things. Then, this all being said, this weekend is going to get a little spooky, and I hope that Beggsy and myself have a couple brewskis or a couple, buds this weekend, if you know what I'm saying. And I think we deserve it, man. We deserve it. Anyways, another episode of Locked On Canucks, your Canucks every day provided here. Enjoy yourself. Take care of yourself and your neighbors. Peace and love. And Beggsy, sign us out.
A shout out to you listening to this program right now or viewing it on YouTube. We don't care where you're watching or viewing, but we just appreciate the heck out of you for joining us. Also, beyond flattered by the fact that we have gotten above 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. That means a lot to us, but nowhere to go from up but here. We gotta cover these Canucks for, again, your team every day for eternity, baby. We ain't going anywhere, and we got you covered for what's gonna happen over the weekend here against the Rangers and the St. Louis Blues. And maybe I'll drop quickly that we do have Rick Dollywall lined up for the Halloween episode on Tuesday, October 31st. We'll get to the bottom of.
Whoa.
But for now, I'm Trevor Beggs. That guy's Cal Bowen, and you've been listening to Locked On Canucks.